We tend to think that the times we're in are unique. And don't get me wrong, there are aspects of the time we're in that are quite unique, right? And they mostly have to do with technology. But this notion of, what really is the arbiter of truth, we've gone through so many cycles of this in human history, right? So if you just think about the Western world, right, there was this period of time in the kind of Dark Ages. That name, by the way, is not fair to things that happened during that period that were revelatory and stimulating intellectually. But still there was a perception, right, that there was a lot of blind faith, not a lot of thinking, and just sort of trusting whatever was going to be said by the church or the religious order of the time. And so partly in response to that comes this period of the Enlightenment, right, that says, no, it's rational thought and scientific thinking and logic and mathematics. These are the things that are going to take us to the promised land. These are the things that are going to actually tell us what's true and what's not, right? And this kind of like pendulum swinging, it happens a lot in history, right? And I think we're in a moment of it right now, right? But it's very reactionary to where we were. And then we come sort of guns a-blazing and saying, no, we got to go all the way to the other side, right? And then, because after the Enlightenment, what comes into play? The Romantic period, right? Well, then they say, well, maybe all of truth isn't really held within science and logic. There's such a thing as beauty and instinct and art and literature and poetry and things that don't really neatly fall under, logical propositions, and there's truth to be found there too. So I'm sharing all of this because I think it's important to be a student of history no matter what your major and what your study is, because you can begin to see that history rhymes, right? It doesn't look exactly like that, but I think this is just what we do as humanities. We care a lot actually about this question of who we are and what is truth, right? You go all the way back to Pilate's time, standing, before Jesus, right? And he says, what is truth? He wants to know what truth is, right? Because Jesus is talking about truth, and he goes, what is this thing, truth? So I think we all really desperately want to know whether we're, whether we're open to what we need to do to find out is a different matter, right? But I think that we have cared a lot. So this is really, Simon, I think that this is something that has rhymed. We just happen to find ourselves in that point in the history of humankind, in the Western culture, I think, right? Because you also ask what's going on in the rest of the world. Yeah. I do think we're exporting this problem to some extent, right? But if you listen to N.T. Wright, he'll actually talk about how some of the issues that we're grappling with right now, there are a lot of places he goes in the world where he does not see it as prominently problematic, right? This whole notion of science and its vibrant Christian faith with this beautiful viewing science as something, as a wondrous opportunity that God has given us to explore the natural world he has made, as opposed to an opponent. So, I don't want to get into too much of why I think it might be why we might be in that moment here in America. I do think that if you follow our politics and our history, you might see why we find ourselves in this moment in time. But no, I don't think that this is mirrored everywhere else. Although as a very influential nation, I do think we're exporting the problem.